Your grandfather earned $2 an hour. You're about to decide what your grandchildren inherit. There's a photograph on your mother's shelf, black and white. A young man in a steel mill, 1962. He's 23. He's tired. He doesn't know that the math of his life is already being written by other people. That man is the reason you exist. He's also the reason you started behind. Both things are true. Let's be frank. Nobody in your family has ever sat down and drawn the full map. Not your parents, not their parents, not the bank, not the school, not the well-meaning uncle at Thanksgiving. So the map gets drawn by accident, by overtime shifts, by missed payments, by whatever the neighbors seem to be doing. And by the time you can read it, you're already standing somewhere on it. You didn't choose the starting line. But here's the thing nobody told you. The ladder isn't measured in years. It's measured in generations. 5 rungs, 5 families, really separated by 100 years and a few quiet decisions made in kitchens. Your grandfather climbed one, your parents climbed a fraction of another. The question now is how far you climb, because the rung you stop on isn't where you live. It's where your grandchildren begin. Level 1, the survival floor. $2 an hour, sometimes less, no benefits. No buffer. No concept of savings. This is where your grandfather lived. Maybe your great-grandfather too. The math here is brutal and simple. Every dollar that comes in is already spoken for. Rent, food, the kids' shoes, the doctor when there's no choice. There is no asset column. There is no compound interest. There is only the next shift and the next bill. He's not poor because he was lazy. He worked 6 days a week for 40 years, without complaining. He's poor because the system he was handed didn't have a wealth-building gear. It only had survival. Frank's truth number 1. Poverty isn't a personality. It's a math problem, with no calculator handed down. At level 1. The antagonist isn't a villain, it's the absence of information. The machine running quietly underneath. He buys a small house in 1971 for $11,000. That house will save the family someday. Not because he planned it, because he stayed long enough for time to do the work he couldn't. That's the only seed at level 1. Time, stubbornness, a roof that outlasts the man who paid for it. When he dies, he leaves $9,000 and a house. Your mother is 26. She has no plan. And just like that, the ladder hands itself to her. She climbs onto rung 2 without knowing she's climbing. Level 2. The Paycheck Floor. This is where most American families have lived for the past 60 years. Your parents make more than your grandfather ever dreamed. $48,000 a year, combined, in 1994 dollars. They have a car, a couch from a real store, vacations that involve a tank of gas and a motel. And they have something your grandfather never had. Credit. A whole financial product designed to make tomorrow's money spendable today. Here's where it turns. Level 2 looks like progress. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just a louder treadmill. They refinance the house your grandfather paid off. Pull out $20,000 for a remodel and a minivan. The honest number is this. That withdrawal cost the family roughly $90,000 in future compounding. Quietly. Invisibly. Nobody is doing anything wrong. They're doing what everyone they know is doing. That's the trap of level 2. You save a little, you spend a little more, you stay even. The machine likes it when you stay even. Frank's truth number 2. The Paycheck Floor was designed to keep you comfortable enough to never look up. Your parents retire with $62,000 in a 401k, the paid-off house, eventually, a used car, Social Security. It's not nothing. It's also not generational wealth. It's a soft landing. Not a runway for anyone else. They love you, they sacrificed for you, and they handed you the exact same map they were given, because nobody handed them a different one. That's how the floor stays the floor across 3 generations. And then it's your turn. You step onto rung 3 holding the same blank map. This is where it changes. Level 3, the break-even floor. This is your floor, the first generation that gets to see the whole picture. You're 28. You earn $54,000 a year. You have $900 saved, and $4,000 in credit card debt. On paper, you're behind. In the bloodline, you're already further than anyone before you. Both things are still true, because something happened that didn't happen for them. You started asking questions. You ran the numbers on a Tuesday night. You learned what a 401k actually is, what an index fund actually is, what 7% over 30 years actually does. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. That's the only real difference between level 2 and level 3. Not income, not job title, not luck. Just the moment the math stopped being invisible to you. Frank's truth number 3. The first generation that learns the math is the one that changes the bloodline. It doesn't matter how late you start. It matters that you start while there's still time left to compound. So you start. $200 a month into an index fund. Boring. Slow. Almost embarrassingly small at first. You kill the credit card debt over 14 months. You don't celebrate. You just move the payment into the index fund. The first year, your account goes from 0 to $2,600. It looks like nothing. It isn't nothing, because the seed is in the ground now. And nobody in your bloodline has ever planted this particular seed before. At 33, you buy a small house. Nothing impressive. 2 bedrooms, a yard the size of a parking space. Your mother cries when she sees the deed. She's never told you why that piece of paper makes her cry. It's because she remembers her father, the steel mill, the $11,000. She knows what one house can do. You don't know yet. You will. Run it yourself. A paid-off house at 65 plus $400,000 invested. That's not rich. That's the first real exit ramp anyone in your family has ever had access to. Here's where it turns. Most people at level 3 stop here. They reach the exit ramp and they take it. They retire comfortable, they die solvent, their kids inherit a paid-off house and a 6-figure brokerage account. That's a win. But it's not a dynasty. A dynasty needs one more thing, and it's the thing the bloodline has never had. It needs the math to be taught, out loud, at the kitchen table, before the kids are old enough to argue. And this is the part where I have to be honest with you. I have watched this fail. I have watched people at level 3 build a real portfolio and never once explain it to their own children. The money got passed down. The map didn't. And one generation later, the family was back on the paycheck floor. So at level 3, you do 2 things, not one. You build the asset, and you teach the asset. You let your kids see the spreadsheet. You explain why the car is older than their friends' parents' cars. You tell them what compound interest is at 12. Not at 28. Broke and scared. Like you learned it. You let them watch the boring middle, the years where nothing seems to happen, because that's where everything happens. Frank's truth number 4. Money that isn't taught isn't inherited. It's just borrowed from the next generation by accident. By 45, you have $190,000 invested. The house is half paid. You drive a 6-year-old sedan. You are not rich. You feel, on most days, slightly behind the people around you. That feeling is the tax. The tax you pay for being the first one to actually look at the math instead of looking away. Your neighbor's lease. You buy used. Your coworker's vacation in Europe. You take the kids to a cabin in Tennessee. The honest number is this. At 55, the boring discipline is worth around $800,000, plus a paid-off house. That's not a yacht. That's a runway, long enough for someone else to take off from, if they're shown how. Because level 3 was never really about you. It was about being the bridge nobody before you got to be. Your grandfather built a roof. Your parents kept the lights on. You built the first real engine the family has ever owned. And now the engine is running. Quietly. Mostly. The question is who you hand the keys to and what you tell them. Because at level 4, the climb stops being yours. It becomes theirs. And what they do with it depends on you. Level 4, the stewardship floor. Your children. They don't start at 0. They start at where you stopped. Your son opens a Roth IRA at 22 because you sat him down at 16 and showed him a chart. Your daughter buys her first index fund share at 19 with money from a summer job. She doesn't think it's strange. That sentence right there is the whole point of level 4. They don't think it's strange anymore. For 3 generations, knowing this math was an act of rebellion. For your kids, it's just how Tuesday works. Frank's truth number 5. A real legacy isn't money. It's the assumption that money is supposed to work for you. Your son earns $68,000 at 25. Less than some of his friends. He doesn't care about the gap. He cares about the spread between what he earns and what he keeps. That conversation never reached his grandfather. By 30, he has $84,000 invested and no consumer debt. He's not rich. He's positioned. Positioned is the word your bloodline has been quietly waiting on for 100 years. Nobody before him got there this young. And here's the part most channels won't tell you. Level 4 is not a victory lap. It's the most dangerous level because there's just enough money now for the old patterns to whisper. Lease the nicer car. Take the bigger mortgage. Inherited wealth gets erased at level 4 more often than at any other floor. The statistics on this are brutal. Most family money in America doesn't make it to the 3rd generation. Not because of taxes, because of forgetting. Forgetting where it came from. Forgetting what it cost. Forgetting that the engine still needs to be fed, not just driven. So at level 4, the lesson isn't how to invest. They already know how to invest. The lesson is restraint. You teach what your parents couldn't teach you. How to look at money you didn't earn without losing yourself. How to keep working when you don't strictly have to. How to drive an older car you no longer need to. How to be the 2nd generation that doesn't blow it. That's the test of level 4. Most people fail it, but your kids don't. Because you didn't just hand them money. You handed them the math. And the reasons for the math. Here's where it turns. By 40, your son has $500,000 invested and a paid-off home of his own. Your daughter co-owns a small business that throws off $90,000 a year in passive income. She started it at 28. Neither is famous. Neither is in a magazine. Both are quietly free, in a way you never quite were. And quietly free is the only kind of free that actually compounds. Loud free gets spent. Quiet free gets reinvested. The honest number is this. By the time your son is 50, the family is worth around $3 million. That's not a fortune. In some zip codes, that's a comfortable house. The number isn't the point anymore. The point is that for the first time in the bloodline, the kids are born onto a platform, not a treadmill. Level 5, the Dynasty Floor. Your grandchildren. They are the first generation that has never seen the floor at all. They don't remember when there wasn't enough. They've never refreshed an account at midnight, hoping the number moved. That sounds like a gift. It is. It's also a problem nobody in your bloodline has ever had to solve before. Because if they don't know what the floor looks like, they don't know what they're standing on top of. And that's how dynasties die. Not from bad markets. From children who think the platform is the ground. Frank's truth number 6. The dynasty floor isn't built by money, it's built by memory. The kind that refuses to fade. So at level 5, the work changes again. It stops being financial. It becomes something closer to storytelling. Your son shows his daughter the photograph, the one of her great-great-grandfather in the steel mill. 1962. He tells her what $2 an hour meant, what $11,000 for a house meant, what compound did over time. She's 12. She doesn't fully understand, but something in her remembers it anyway. The way bloodlines remember things. And one day, when someone tries to sell her a lifestyle she can't really afford, she'll feel a pull she can't name. That pull is your grandfather. That pull is the photograph. That pull is 100 years of math finally arriving home. And she'll close the laptop. She won't even know exactly why. But she will. The dynasty just defended itself. By the time your granddaughter is 25, the family is worth around $6.5 million. She has never had to choose a career based on the salary. Read that sentence again. It's the whole point. She becomes a teacher. Not because the family needs the income, because the family doesn't. Your grandson studies architecture for 9 years. He's 27 before he earns $1 in his field. That kind of patience is something his great-grandfather, working 6 days a week, was never allowed to imagine. This is what wealth actually buys at level 5. Not yachts, not watches, time. The only currency that was ever scarce. Frank's truth number 7. A dynasty is measured in the number of bad jobs your descendants never have to take. They still work, they still save. The map is in their bones. They work on what they choose, not what they need. And quietly, in a way no one outside the family notices. The bloodline has crossed a line that almost never gets crossed. The line where money stops being the problem and starts being the inheritance. The line your grandfather couldn't even see. There's a photograph on a shelf in a house your granddaughter owns. Black and white. A young man in a steel mill. 1962. Tired eyes. $2 an hour. He doesn't know he's the first link in a chain that will outlast him. He doesn't know that the house he bought for $11,000 will one day teach his great-grandchildren what time is worth. He doesn't know that you are watching him from 100 years away, holding the math he was never shown. He just goes back to the line, punches in, punches out, buys the house, and keeps the chain alive without knowing it. That's what every level of a family's money actually is. A chain of small, mostly unglamorous decisions made in the dark. The grandfather who buys instead of rents. The mother who teaches instead of hides. The son who reinvests instead of leases. The granddaughter who closes the laptop because something in her remembers a steel mill she never saw. None of it looks like wealth building from the inside. From the outside, 100 years later, it looks like a dynasty. You started this video on someone else's floor. You started it inheriting a map nobody bothered to draw for you. Now you've seen the whole ladder. 5 rungs, 5 generations. The exact place you're standing on it tonight. You can't change which rung you were born on. Nobody can. That part was already decided before you got here. But you can choose, tonight, which rung you stop on. And that single choice rewrites every rung that comes after. Your grandfather earned $2 an hour because the system he was handed didn't give him another option. You're sitting here, right now, with options he could never imagine. The map is in your hand. Finally. What your grandchildren inherit isn't a number. It's whether or not you decided to look at the math tonight. The math doesn't care that you're tired. The math doesn't care that nobody taught you. The math doesn't care. It just compounds. For you or for someone else. The next move, like always, is still yours. If nobody ever gave you the frank version of how a family's money actually works, that's what this channel is for. Subscribe if you want the rest of the map. Your grandchildren are waiting on the rung you stop on.